All right, so we usually start by asking a bit about your background. Tell me where you grew up and where you went to school.
Yeah. So I grew up in Massachusetts, just outside of Worcester. So I was there, a very small town, it's called Paxton, about 4,000 people, one stoplight, no gas station, no nothing. But I loved it there. So from there, I went out to Amherst, and I went to college at the University of Massachusetts. I studied there for 4 years. I actually spent my first 2.5 years studying wildlife and fisheries conservation. So I started at the Stockbridge School up there, which is the origin of UMass, which is an agricultural school. So my plan was to become a park ranger or a forest ranger. So I grew up in a small town, spent all my time outdoors, really loved that experience. So I said, why don't I study that in the community? So as I went through some of the courses, and I thought a little bit more about my future and what I wanted to do, I decided to do a total 180 and study finance instead. So I sort of said to myself, I'm like, well, all of these classes are really interesting and this is what my passion is, but I think it would be good to learn some core business skills so I could become a professional and then make sure that I'm spending my time making my passion sort of outside of my work. So I did that 180 and ended up graduating with a degree in finance.
Okay, so you finished, this is undergrad?
Undergrad, correct.
Did you do a master's?
Nope.
No. So you started working at
Goldman Sachs.
Goldman Sachs.
Yes.
All right.
So,
New York.
exactly. So I was not a forest ranger at Goldman Sachs. So I moved from Amherst to New York City, which is like the exact opposite, to take a job at Goldman. So I started in July of 2008, which was just 2 months before Lehman Brothers collapsed and in the midst of the financial crisis. So needless to say, things were exciting.
Okay.
So my first role was on a foreign exchange trading desk, working in operations. So did that for about a year, saw some of the turmoil in the markets, and then I moved to another role in credit derivatives. So I don't know if anybody
what's that?
Some laughing back there. But it's like a 22-year-old and having your boss say, I want you to take this job and do this. I said, sure. So credit derivatives are it's a financial instrument, which is basically insurance on bonds. So if you think of debt, a company will pay for a business $1,000, and in return will get a coupon of say 5% every year for the term. There is a risk though that company is going to go bankrupt or go under, where that $1,000 you gave them, you're going to get back say 65 cents on the dollar or 35 cents on the dollar. So what a credit derivative is a bank sells you this instrument to give you insurance on it. So if that company went bankrupt, you would still be made whole on that investment. So you pay a small coupon each month, each quarter to make up for it.
Were you selling these or were you crunching?
Yeah, I was on an operations team. So my career actually ended up being in operations and not necessarily in finance, which sort of set me up for where I am today. So operations, to me at least, is like the broadest of categories when you think about a profession. So it could be risk management, it could be process improvement, it could be general business operations. So how do we effectively pay our bills? So for me, I did a whole bunch of roles, both within risk management, client management, and towards the end of my career at Goldman, I focused a lot on project management. So this was as the Dodd-Frank regulations were coming into play, and there were a lot of changes that Goldman and all the other investment banks and hedge funds had never really needed to make. So my role was to work with our traders and all of the other internal stakeholders to roll out these rules internally and make sure that we're in compliance.
Would you say that role had an entrepreneurial aspect, even though you did a lot of things?
Absolutely. So, I mean, the role was changing, in that period of time. It was changing, every day. So as more clarification came out on, financial regulations and how our business model changed and the types of clients we were looking at changed, and capital requirements changed, all these things change all the time. We had to adapt to them. So I was doing a number of different projects at once.
So you're wearing many hats, and you must have decided it wasn't for you.
Yes.
Yeah.
So, and sort of going through this time, I actually spent I used to live close to the Goldman Sachs office building in Lower Manhattan, and every day when I'd walk to work, I'd walk by Zuccotti Park, which was where the Occupy Wall Street movement was based. It was basically a community of folks that were camping there, and every morning we'd come out and protest. So I walked by that every single day. We'd stop multiple times by protesters saying, "What are you doing? Why are you doing this?" To be honest, that had affected me. I sort of thought about the business that I was in and sort of the products that I was dealing with, which were these sort of esoteric financial instruments that were really just numbers in a computer. So what I decided is that I wanted to do something else that was tangible, something that I could really sink my teeth into and see and feel.
Okay, and Uber caught your eye.
Yeah.
How early in the game was this?
So I left Goldman Sachs in November of 2012, and I started at Uber just a couple of days after I left. And at that point, I was one of the first 150 employees there.
In the whole company?
The whole company.
Okay.
It was very early.
Yeah, and how many in New York?
There were 6.
6, early days.
Yeah.
So you took the operations role,
Yeah.
and what did that entail?
So it was a very small team. We were based actually in an office similar to sort of Grove in Brooklyn, and I was one of 3 driver operations managers. So my role was incredibly broad. One of the things that I like most about it is the second day I was there, we moved offices.
Okay.
So I immediately was put to work moving.
Okay.
So I picked up all the boxes and desks and chairs and everything, put them all moving again. That was like the most effective way to be useful right from the start.
Manual labor.
Exactly. So that was a really good experience, and I was able to bond with my team really quickly through that experience. But once we actually got into the office and I started the work that they actually hired me for, I took on a lot of the driver communications. So I'd spend 12 hours a day face-to-face with our driver partners in New York City. That entailed everything from hosting information sessions to explain what Uber was, because at this point it was still very new. It would be helping our driver partners set up their accounts, troubleshooting issues with their billing, troubleshooting tech issues that they were having. So I do this for about 12 hours, and then at the end of that, I get into some of the analytical, actually think about the business.
Okay.
So for the first few months were incredibly cool.
Like a robot, just churning questions out.
Exactly.
Okay, so how long did you do that for?
Yeah, so the next hire we made was in January. So I started beginning of November, we hired somebody else in January. So I was able to spread that work out a little bit. And then really the better part of my first year was spent heavily focused on our driver partners and ensuring that we were able to onboard or activate as many as wanted to join, and that their experience would be good.
So what are some of the criteria you look at? Has that changed?
Yeah. So the criteria in New York City is actually very different than what it is in Connecticut and throughout the rest of the country. In New York City, there's a very strict regulatory regime that has been around for decades. They have a whole enforcement division and licensing division. So all of the driver partners that come in there have to go through a licensing process with the city. They Their vehicles have to have special license plates. They all have to carry commercial insurance. It's a very rigorous process that takes months to do. So opposed to Connecticut, where our service allows individuals to use their own personal vehicles to get onto the system in a number of days.
Is there a specification on the vehicle that they have? 4 doors, 2 doors, year?
Yes. So that does vary, and that's shifted over time. In Connecticut right now, the vehicle must be 12 years old or newer, 4 doors,
All right. So you took this role as the Connecticut GM. What was the progression like into that?
So in my role on the driver operations team in New York City, over time as we built and scaled up the team, we were able to build, we actually split the team into a couple different groups. One was focused on new drivers and one was focused on existing drivers. So our new driver group was focused on growing the number of drivers that are on the system. And the other group were concerned about helping the partners that were already. So how do we provide support for them? How do we optimize their earnings? How do we make the system overall more efficient? So as we started to expand our operations in New York City, we went from really being able to cover Manhattan and the core business district really well to expanding out into the other boroughs. We then decided, why not expand the service into New Jersey and into Connecticut? So one of the fundamental principles about Uber is equilibrium between supply and demand. So if I look at those two, supply is the most important part of that. So supply meaning having drivers that are on the road and available for riders to request. So when we first decided to launch in Connecticut, we did it in a novel way that hadn't been tried to do before. So typically Uber, historically, when we launch a new market, we'll send in a team, we call these individuals launchers. So these are sort of your all-around utility players that come into a market, understand the regulatory requirements, start networking with businesses, and start providing some marketing for these areas. And we also bring along a driver operations manager to work with drivers. In Connecticut, all we did was send a couple of guys from our office up to Connecticut a few days a week to activate as many drivers as possible and spread them throughout the state. Our theory is that if we activate drivers as quickly as possible, riders will hear about us, whether through friends, through hearing about the app, through the media, downloading and saying, oh, there's a driver. And then we grew really fast.
Were you the guy that was on the ground getting these drivers recruiting?
I spent a lot of time up here doing that. I had a few folks that were working for me that just did most of the work. But I spent many a day in hotel conference rooms in Hartford, New Haven, Stanford, all over the state, having those conversations.
Did you know anything about Connecticut prior? Had you been here? Or was it just cold?
So, as I said, I grew up in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
I lived in New York City. So, all I really knew about Connecticut was 2 hours of traffic between my parents' place and where I lived. So, I was a bit resistant to spending more time in Connecticut. But quickly, I learned that it's a wonderful place. So, I spent a lot of time sort of learning what is it that drives Connecticut. If you look at a place like, say, Stanford, it's very, very different than Old Saybrook or Hartford, or the whole state is very unique, even though it's so small. There are all these pockets of different culture, which I find fascinating. I've spent a lot of the last year and a half that I've been in this role trying to understand.
How often do you get up there? Because you work in New York.
I do. Yep. So I still live in New York City, and our headquarters is in New York City, but I'm here in Connecticut at least a day or two per week for various meetings or meetings with our travel partners.
And how many other GMs work out of the New York office? Is there Jersey?
There is. So there are 4 general managers in the New York City office. So the best way to think about a general manager is maybe as a territory manager. So I cover the entire state of Connecticut. My boss covers New York City and New York State. And then there's another general manager who covers New Jersey. And then we also have somebody else who's in charge of Uber Eats.
Oh yeah.
So I'm not sure, is anybody familiar with Uber Eats? So Uber Eats is effectively food delivery through the media market.
Let's talk metrics. Since you started Connecticut, where have you seen the most hotspots? What kind of data are you seeing with lengths of rides, times of day? Just talk about some of the metrics, yeah.
So it probably shouldn't be surprising, but we see a lot of our demand come on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday evenings. So in most Uber markets when we start, we tend to see that. And that's really a function of the younger demographic who are familiar with Uber, have smartphones. They're going out to parties or bars or out to dinner, and they're using Uber to get to and from.
Is there anything particular to Connecticut that you don't see in New York? Data?
That's a good question. I mean, I think sort of if we look at the makeup of the state, you have New York City with this dense urban core in Manhattan. And we've actually expanded quite a bit into the other boroughs. It's something like 30 or 35% of all Uber NYC trips occur to the other boroughs, which is really interesting. And I sort of think of that as similar to Connecticut, where you have all of these trips that are happening in Connecticut's urban cores, which are Stamford, New Haven, and Hartford, but we have all of these trips happening in these interconnected, in the areas of the community. So, places like Norwalk or West Haven, Camden, all over Greater Hartford. So we're starting to see these trips expand outward. So that tells me a couple of things. One is that individuals are choosing to use Uber maybe in a way that they never really thought they would. So Connecticut, I'm sure, by show of hands, how many folks here own a car? I think that's virtually everybody here. So I think if you were to ask that same question in some of the other markets we operate in, say in New York City or San Francisco or Washington, you'd see maybe half the number of parents go. So when we see all of these trips expanding into the suburbs, that tells me that you have individuals that are taking trips maybe from their homes where they live into the city. So they're leaving those cars at home and they're taking Uber to get to their final destination.
So beyond just the car service, how has Uber affected the state with, say, some of the partnerships you've done?
So one thing for me that's been really important is being a part of the community here. So particularly since I'm based in New York City, I'm not here every day. It's important to me that we're building deep roots with the community that we're serving. So there's a number of different ways that we've been able to do that. But really, we understand that Uber is important to folks here. So they're relying on us for a safe, affordable ride to get around. And we want to be able to provide the benefits for the broader community. So we've worked with organizations like Mothers Against Drunk Driving, which they've been a very strong partner of ours, where we share the same message of reducing, or rather eliminating, drunk driving accidents here in the state of Connecticut. So with a service like Uber, there's really no reason to get behind the wheel after you've had a couple of drinks, when instead you can tap a button on your cell phone and the car arrives within 5 minutes virtually everywhere in the entire state. And it's reliable and safe and affordable.
Now I know you guys do a lot of promotions. You had the study break with Jet.
Yes.
The year before you had another study break as well with somebody else, a Swedish chef. The onesie.
Exactly. Did you get one of those?
I did, yeah.
I'm surprised you're not wearing it today.
Yes. And you've had, just recently, the other day, you had a concert, right?
Yes.
I think that was just for Greenwich at Stanford. So, what's the premise behind these promotions that you do, and how does it work?
So, the way that Uber as a company goes about marketing is we're not investing in traditional media the way that other companies would. So, you're not going to see Uber TV ads everywhere. You're not going to see billboards everywhere. You're not going to see ads in the newspaper or at the bus stop. You may see some of those as we run experiments, but the way that we've been able to grow as quickly as we have is through virality, through word of mouth. So when we run promotions, like Adam was just talking about, we've done things like Uber Kittens here in Connecticut, where tapping the button, literally a car of kittens will show up to you, and you get to spend 15 minutes playing with them, which is like the most wonderful experience ever.
That was an animal rescue, right?
That was running animal rescue. But if you sort of go boil that down a little bit, we're able to use the Uber platform, which on the most basic level, the lowest common denominator is Uber is a technology company that has a logistics platform. So we connect X with Y. So tapping the button, we're able to use cars that we have our driver partners on this network. They can deliver anything. So whether it's kittens, whether it's you from one place to another, whether it's cookies, it could really be anything. So part of our marketing is to show these unique ways that Uber can be used and show people how the network works. So they take it to transport themselves next time. The other thing that we look at when we think about marketing is, again, through virality, is allowing individuals to refer a friend. So I don't know if any of you folks have done this, but within the app, you're able to provide your own personalized promotion code to friends, family, a stranger on the street, and give them, rather gift them, their first ride up to $20 or $25 for free. Once they take that ride, you in return get the same. So you're sharing your experiences with Uber and all the magical things that have happened with your friends and family. You're giving them their first experience for free, but you're getting that in return. So I'd much rather invest our marketing budget in giving our brand ambassadors who are out using Uber all the time these rides while they're helping us grow our business. We actually do the same thing with our driver partners. So we offer cash bonuses when they refer their friends to drive.
With the discount code, share code gets $10 off or $15. Have you seen critical mass hit there, and has that dropped off?
Yeah. So I do not believe we've seen critical mass. It's still growing as a percentage, because as our rider base is still growing really fast. So here in Connecticut, we've only penetrated a very small portion of the population. So as more folks get onto the system, they're sharing their code more widely. We're still.
So Uber's been battling a lot of regulatory issues nationwide, globally. Have you been battling issues in Connecticut with state lawmakers and so on?
We have. So over the last 2 years, there have been bills introduced in the legislation to regulate transportation network companies like Uber. So other companies that exist are Lyft, Sidecar. There's a number of other transportation network companies like Uber around. So there have been bills to regulate us. Unfortunately, the last 2 times around, they haven't made it all the way through. But overall, we're supportive of legislation. And we believe that so long as it's smart and it protects the interests of consumers and of drivers who are using the system. And it takes safety into account, and we're supportive of that. But overall, the two bills that have been introduced in consecutive years are great. There just hasn't been the appetite to actually get them passed.
Okay. Now I know you just opened the Stanford Driver Partner Hub. Is that right? Is that just recently?
We're not quite there.
Oh, so
not open yet. So we're in the process, actually. So right now, our strategy has been to operate in hotel conference rooms across the state. So this allows us to go as needed to all corners of the state to meet with our driver partners. So we host sessions 5 days a week right now, 3 days in Stanford, 1 day in West Haven, and 1 day in East Hartford. And then about twice a month, we'll host sessions in London and occasionally in Denver. So that really covers most of the state. So what these conference rooms allow us to do is be flexible. So if all of a sudden we're seeing a need for us to spend more time in the eastern part of the state, we'll be able to schedule more sessions there, bring staff to our driver partners to answer their questions and to help support. But what we've seen is, Stanford, for instance, has been the most well-attended of all of these places. So I think it's time that we establish our roots. So that's sort of our plan.
But the people that run these events at hotels, they're coming off from New York.
Good. So yeah, we actually have some of our operations team based in New York City who come up to these sessions. But we also have a host of folks who live here in Connecticut who actually manage. So we call them our partner support representatives. People at Uber right now, they're spending 25 or 30 hours a week directly with our driver partners, helping them with their issues, providing the support that's necessary.
So this hub, is that going to be the only place in Connecticut that you'll do this, or will you still do the satellite hotel operation?
We'll still continue to do the satellite operations, but instead of renting a conference room in Stanford for 3 days a week, we'll have this operation that we'll be able to run, but also continue to run these operations in the rest of the state as necessary. And what's interesting about the way that we're set up is Uber is a data-driven company, which shouldn't be any surprise. But we have some really interesting information about where our driver partners live, where they're spending their time driving. We want to make sure we're in the areas that are most effective and efficient.
Okay. So, yeah.
How can we find out about the Uber get-togethers?
Yes. I can actually provide that to you to you after this.
Okay.
I'll give you all the information.
So what's this Uber Urban Partnerships Program?
Yes. So I think at this point, just about a year ago, we announced a partnership here in Connecticut called Uber, and it stands for Uber's Urban Partnership. So this was in conjunction with another one of our very strong community partners, the NAACP. So in conjunction with them, we announced an initiative to add 1,500 driver partner jobs, or opportunities rather, in the state of Connecticut in urban areas. So one of the core missions of the NAACP right now is to provide economic opportunities for young folks that are in these areas. So it made a ton of sense for us to work together on this. We've made a lot of progress towards our goals so far. We've hosted sessions here in New Haven, in Bridgeport, in Hartford, and we have a number of other ones scheduled in the coming months to continue this partnership. We've seen great results so far.
Looking at the future now, do you intend on bringing some of your other non-core products to Connecticut, such as Uber Eats? Because I know a couple restaurants that I would like to order from late.
Absolutely. So, I think, when I think of the future of Uber, I think it first makes sense to sort of look at, what our main business goals are. So for me, it's providing the most effective, efficient transportation for all in the state of Connecticut. I know, like, for Uber, Travis, who is our CEO, likes to say Uber is here to provide reliable transportation, to everybody, whoever wants it. So, first and foremost, I want to ensure that we're doing that. So that means providing rides to individuals in just a couple of minutes, as affordable as possible, but also looking to use our network to do things like Uber Eats, to introduce products like Uber Pool, which is a carpooling option, and then any number of other things. So we have no plans to launch either of those services currently. That could very well change, but the reality is Uber is committed to Connecticut and continuing to grow our presence here and providing the residents and our driver partners with the services that they want.
I mean, I've seen your blog, and there's a bunch of highlighted eateries in each city to visit. I thought maybe that's building your food network to then bring the service later down the track.
Yeah. I mean, the reality, Uber Eats is still in its early days. So we've only launched in a handful of markets. Here on the East Coast, I believe we're in New York City, Washington, D.C., and Atlanta. So yeah, we still have a lot of room to grow. So first and foremost, we have to prove out the business model and work out some of the kinks in our technology. Delivering food is actually quite complicated. There's a whole bunch of touch points that we're still trying to get correct. But as soon as we get to that point, I'd love to bring it every
A lot of students.
Yeah, I mean, in a place like New Haven, it makes a lot of sense. But to your point about our blog, where we have highlighted
Top destinations,
we're able to use some of the data from trips that are happening to pinpoint where riders are traveling. So think of it almost as like Foursquare, where you're able to look at trending destinations or trending areas, based on where people are searching. With Uber, it's where people are taking the ride from point A to point B. So that's given us some really interesting information. Obviously, it's all anonymized, so we're looking at it in aggregate. But it really highlights what are the cool places, what are the new restaurants, what are the fun bars to go to, and it's fun to highlight those things.
Do you do that?
I don't do that.
You haven't visited all the places.
I'm slowly checking them out now.
Okay. So what about driverless cars? When are they coming? Now?
Oh man, I can't answer that.
You can't answer that?
It's a ways away, well off into the future. I mean, the reality is, when you think about safety and you think about driving, there's something like 1.4 million vehicle fatalities per year. Something like 94% of those are preventable because they're due to human error. So when you start to think about technology that makes driving safer, so it reduces obviously distracted driving, impaired driving, and any number of other accidents that can happen in between, our streets get safer. And then you sort of start to think about what does the future city look like. So no longer you have to have giant parking lots filled with idle vehicles, or you no longer have to have streets where both sides are paved with cars. All of a sudden, you're freeing up all of this space, you're giving it back to the community. So one thing that I sort of think about, particularly here in New Haven, I know the director of parking and transportation here, Greg Tosley, has done some really wonderful work, some really big, bright ideas for New Haven that we really agree with, is thinking about how you can make cities more accessible. So removing the need for individuals to have to drive their own cars, whether it's through carpooling or ride sharing or bike share or walking, better public transit. All these things improve the way that individuals live, interact with their cities. So to go back to your original question, autonomous vehicles are not in our near future. But right now, we're committed to, again, providing the best service we can with Uber to our residents in Connecticut.
One thing about New Haven is that the train station is awfully far away.
Yes.
Before Uber was in New Haven, it was a real mission to get a taxi. The line was always so short. So I know firsthand how much impact we've made from that trip from the train station to home, given the poor city plan we have. Something I'm sure you're working on with Doug. So yeah, look.
I think just on that point of having a train station or a transit hub away from the places that a lot of individuals are going, we think about that as, we call it the first last mile issue. So when we've done some analysis here in Connecticut, outside of just New Haven, but across all of southern Connecticut, we see that nearly 30% of all rides that are happening on Uber begin or end within an eighth of a mile of a Metro North station. So while we can't say for sure that all of those rides are taking individuals from their homes or offices to the train station, we can infer that a very large percentage of those are. So what that tells us is that you have individuals who are using Uber to bridge the gap from public transit to wherever they're actually going. And that's a trend that we're super excited about. Getting back to some of the work that Doug is working on with bike share and better public transit, we believe that Uber can certainly help with that. We can improve the transportation ecosystem by providing access for the first class highway.
Okay. Look, I'm sure a lot of people have questions, so ask away. Yes, Paul.
What books are most highly recommended by your bosses and the folks at Uber? It's just one or several.
That's a good question. I think right now, I've heard a lot of folks talking about Ben Horwitz's book, The Hard Thing About Hard Things, which I think just has some really solid advice for entrepreneurs and folks working in businesses. So one of the things that I take from that as somebody who not only is external facing in Uber, so I'm not only working with regulators and coming to events like this, I also manage a team. So one of the things that Ben talks about is the importance of one-on-ones with individuals that you're working with. So I think in a business like Uber or any startup or any fast-paced work that you're doing, it's easy to sort of put your head down and get your work done. But if you take the time to spend it with the folks who are reporting to you and helping them develop, hearing what are some of the roadblocks that they're seeing, you get a tremendous amount of improvement from that relationship and the productivity of that individual.
Yes.
I'm one of those Metro North riders that's going into Stanford every day from New Haven, and I've seen your campaign. That you've done some advertising on Metro North, and I work in marketing, so I was just wondering if you had any stats and if it was successful.
Yeah. So, as I'm sure you're probably aware of in marketing, out-of-home campaigns are typically really difficult to track attribution. So it's hard for us to say, did one person look at this, say, oh, this looks interesting, let me download this app and take a look. So what we can do is part of our campaign is that we added promotion codes onto a handful of these apps that allowed an individual to download the app and get their first ride for free. So we're able to look at the number of people who use that promotion code, and it was actually, the results were quite good. They could have been a little bit higher, but we were happy with the results there. But really, the purpose of that campaign was awareness. So we wanted to test, because we've never done it before, does it help to have Uber's name out there and really try to build awareness in that demographic? And we've seen some good results.
Yes.
On the topic of kind of one-on-ones, I know the rating system is obviously a very important part
Yes.
of Uber. Is there any human management of your frontline, or do you depend strictly on the technology to manage those drivers?
So that's a great question. For those of you who aren't aware of the rating system, so after each and every ride that's completed, both the driver and the passenger rate one another on a scale of 1 to 5 stars. So when we look at, particularly for driver ratings, we hold a bar to ensure that drivers are above a certain level. And that's to ensure a quality experience for all. So that's only one small part of the quality management that we do. It's the most visible externally, but using a lot of our capabilities with data, we're able to track a whole bunch of other things and make improvements that way. So we have a very, very, very strong customer support organization that if there is an incident that our rider has, whether it's a lost item or a missed turn on a trip, an individual can write into Uber directly through the app and express their concerns, and a rep will get back to them often within a couple of minutes to help them sort through that issue. Same on the driver side. There's an issue that one of our driver partners is having. They can get in touch with someone and have an answer within a couple of minutes. But quality is one of the top things that we focus on. There's a number of ways that we do it outside of just the rating system.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah. So Uber's obviously a global company now, which is really exciting, but it still sounds like you have a lot of that sort of startup mentality and excitement. So how does your company contend with both of those worlds? Because sometimes organizations become bloated and there's a little bit of a disconnect. Can you talk a little bit more about how Uber is able to keep that entrepreneurial spirit?
So I think you've nailed one of the most difficult things that we deal with as a company. For me personally, when I started at Uber, just over 100 employees. Now we're approaching 7,000 in 50 plus countries around the world. But what I think is really unique about Uber is the way that we operate in local markets. So one of the strategies that we started early on is not just everybody operating out of San Francisco, which is our corporate headquarters, but operating in the markets that they're responsible for. So just on the East Coast alone, we have offices in Boston, New York, Washington, D.C., Atlanta, Miami, all up and down the East Coast. And each of those offices, it has sort of its own culture within the broader Uber culture. So because of that, we're able to often have a bit more autonomy than people that are in this big corporate headquarters. So we spend a lot of time focusing on how do we prevent bureaucracy and make sure that as we grow, we're adding new layers and new teams that everybody is still able to operate quickly. And we also encourage everybody, we call it be an owner and not a renter. So if you see a problem or you see something that needs to be fixed, go ahead and do it. The manager is going to be supportive of that. And the upper levels of management at Uber are very open. And if you have a suggestion or a problem or you see something that needs to be fixed, you go directly to them and work with them to solve that. So there isn't going to be some red tape for you to get that stuff done. But it continues to be a focus of ours and something that we want to make sure we get there.
So you get freedom to take ownership of some of the entrepreneurial things you might want to do within the company. We want to do this, that's okay, prove it, get some data behind it, if it works, and roll it out somewhere else.
I think the best example of that is we have a program in New York City called Uber Rush. So Uber Rush is a bike messenger delivery service. So that was launched over 2 years ago as a result of a bunch of folks in the New York City office saying, hey, we can use this Uber platform to do more than just deliver people. We can deliver packages, but in New York City, it's hard to do that in a car. Why don't we do it on bikes? So the team got together, developed a pitch for that, ran some analysis. What does the competition look like? What are the regulations? What's the market size? A quick and dirty of what this could look like. Pitched it to Travis, who's the CEO, and after a number of discussions, he said, "Go for it. Like, run it yourselves. Let me know how it goes." So that was really the precursor to the Beats, which is now like our food delivery service. So that's just one of the has to be thousands of examples at Uber where individuals came up with an idea, pitched it, and were able to actually take it on themselves. And when we operate all over the world, every market is going to be different. So if you think about,
I have an example. Yeah, in Paris, wasn't there the scooter?
Yes, exactly. So there was ride on the back of a scooter in Paris. I think in Sydney we've done boats.
Yeah.
So because obviously in Sydney Harbor, it's a common way to get around. So we use the Uber platform to do that. We've done helicopters. We've done, gosh, I don't even know how many other things.
The Cannes. Didn't you have something in Cannes?
Yeah, we did it in Cannes. We did it in the Hamptons. But these are just examples of these individual city teams saying, "Hey, here's this unique thing in my market. Let's use the Uber system, this platform, this technology to deliver this experience this way."
Anybody else? Paul.
If you don't mind, one more
That's okay.
question. What kinds of sort of advice do they give regarding the partnerships and stuff, like for NACP, for example? How is that? Is that kind of local, bottom up, or top down? Or can you comment on that?
So partnerships can happen in a number of different ways at Uber. So we have a number of partnerships that happen at the corporate or headquarter level. So these are broad partnerships that cover, say, all the United States or maybe we're all over the world. It sort of depends on the size of the organization you're working with. But the vast majority of partnerships come bottoms up. So Ariella actually works with me as well on the public policy team, so she's been a part of a number of these. But with the NAACP, we recognize some of the work that they're doing here in Connecticut, actually specifically here in New Haven, where they were looking for economic opportunities for their young members. And we said, well, Uber really fits that bill. So we sat down with them and figured out what we're going to do. So that to me is one of the ways that Uber, or one of the things that Uber does best, is that we're able to interact with all the communities that we operate in, provide value in those meaningful ways through the work of our city teams, actually getting out there and executing this.
One more. Yes.
Just looking, certainly down the road of the environmental benefits of this product, the less congestion and so on. In Uber's current manifestation, are you aware of, or does Uber comment on any sort of environmental benefits that are brought about by virtue of what it's doing now?
So we're actually just getting started on that, and really trying to quantify what the benefits are. So we've been able to do some work around Uber Pool and the reduction of miles traveled. So when you're pooling individuals, so if say you have two rides that are going say 10 miles each, and they're going two riders are in the same destination. If you pair those two together, you take 10 vehicle miles off the road, say X amount of carbon, this much gas. We've done some preliminary analyses on that, but it's something that we plan to do a lot more of. We can really demonstrate that benefit.
It's probably politically sensitive in some places, but have you looked at it, you're starting to look at issues like, for instance, Uber reduces the number of cars manufactured.
Yeah.
Is that part of it?
Yeah, I'm sure it will be. I'm not close enough to that to know the specifics. But when you think about companies like Uber operating at the scale that they are, there are effects that happen across the entire transportation ecosystem. So that's certainly something that could be a thing.
All right, thank you. Put your hands together for Matt. Yeah, so our next event will be on June the 6th, and you'll all get an email about it because I have your emails now. Thanks for coming, guys.
Thank you.